Hey everyone, I'm Johnny, and today's video is on a true icon of the Vietnam War and a centerpiece in many Vietnam War movies. That is, of course, the Huey helicopter. The Huey is the most widely used helicopter in movie history and the most produced helicopter in American history. So let's take a closer look at this aircraft and some of the movies it's been featured in. As most movie directors know, Vietnam was called the Helicopter War, and virtually all Vietnam blockbusters have a showing of Hueys. And luckily for studios wanting to recreate the dramatic use of these helicopters, there are still many Bell UH-1 Iroquois around, as well as other military and civilian variants.
But what they don't prepare you for is the incessant use of Fortunate Son. I'd hear that song anytime I was in a helicopter.
Sorry, I'd play more CCR if I owned the rights. Between 1956 and 1987, over 16,000 Hueys, not including modern variants, were produced. That's only second in the world to the Soviet MiL Mi-8. What you'll primarily see on film is the UH-1 Iroquois, which was originally designated the HU-1, hence the nickname Huey. They were even occasionally referred to as taxis due to their frequent and prolific use. Numerous variants of Huey are common on film. Another common variant is the twin Huey, introduced in 1970, with two turboprop engines driving a single shaft, providing extra power and reliability, as the Huey can run up to 30 minutes on a single engine. But that's just one of the many interesting variants.
We're reenacting the Vietnam War?
This chopper will take you to base camp! Get in!
Probably a fan favorite in cinema is the AH-1 Cobra, sometimes called the Huey Cobra. It uses the same engine, transmission, and rotary system as the UH-1, though obviously built as an attack helicopter. The Vietnam War was a proving ground for the Huey helicopter and the concept of helicopter warfare as a whole. It was the first time helicopters were used on this scale, and the largest use of helicopters in any single war. Thousands of helicopters would be used throughout the lengthy conflict, which was 19 years for American forces, only recently being bumped as America's longest war by the war in Afghanistan. Vietnam would prove numerous helicopter designs, like the Sikorsky H-34, or as shown here the Westland Wessex, a British variant of the design. Ultimately, though, it would be the Huey design that stuck around. In 2018, the US Marines started receiving mass-produced deliveries of the UH-1Y, Venom, dubbed the Super Huey, yet another beefed-up design of the ancient platform. No doubt future variants will continue to pop up for the foreseeable future. But heading back to Vietnam, where Hueys and their crews saw the majority of frontline action.
And to prove it, we're going to give you some entertainment we know you're going to like. Miss August, Miss Sangabady, Miss May, Miss Terry.
In context of modern warfare, many people view piloting aircraft as being a relatively safe role in relation to troops on the ground. However, this was hardly the case for pilots, particularly helicopter pilots, during the Vietnam War. Hueys were responsible for carrying troops right to the front line, providing close air support, and most dangerously, evacuations in the thick of combat, including airlifting the injured.
Be ready in there! Let's go! Let's go! All right! Your officer's dead! What do you do? What do you do?
UH-1s and variants flew more combat hours during Vietnam than any other aircraft in the history of warfare. As effective as the Huey was, its losses were staggering during the war. Over 1,900 Hueys were lost in combat, while just under 1,400 were lost in operational accidents. In relation to flight time and frontline combat usage, these numbers actually reflect an effective aircraft and not a fragile one. The accidental losses were insightful to similar issues experienced during the Battle of Britain, which was the high fatigue rate for Huey pilots and their crews.
Snake shit too tall. We're coming in with 2 full loads of ammo. Randall, we've blown a new LZ. And when you come in from the east. Out.
I want my men out. Somebody say it.
Few other aircrews in history had to perform the constant frontline medic, combat, and air support roles in the same way the Huey did. Another harsh reality for aircrew was being captured by the North Vietnamese. 80% of POWs were aircrew and pilots. They could expect treatment that was as harsh as the overall war. And I can only think of one man who somehow softens the reality of being a POW in Vietnam.
Prisoner 24601. Oh, God. I wore this for 2 years in a Viet Cong internment center. Never thought I'd see the old girl again. Still fits.
At the start of the Vietnam War, the Huey was first seen as a quick and effective way to get troops in and out of inaccessible areas of the country, for which it was highly effective. However, it was almost immediately and continually upgunned throughout the war, at first by the crew and companies themselves, fabricating their own mounting systems. As such on film, there is no need to be overly critical of what is or isn't mounted on a Huey, as there are significant variants, regulated and unregulated, throughout the Vietnam War. As UH-1s continued to be upgraded, they would often join forces with OH-58s, or OH-6s for example, forming dedicated hunter-killer teams, though the role of attack gunship would actually decrease later in the war due to increased NVA anti-aircraft defenses, and the increased availability of dedicated attack helicopters. After Vietnam, attack helicopters became a permanent part of American military air support. UH-1s had 960 standard horsepower and a maximum speed of just over 200 kilometers an hour. It was generally operated with a crew of 3. It could carry 10 passengers or 6 stretchers. It also had an impressive hauling ability and could internally carry up to 1,500 kilograms. I believe what the Huey will be most remembered for, particularly by those who needed it, was its role as a medevac. The Huey throughout Vietnam transported 2 million wounded and injured soldiers and civilians right up to the end of the war, famously evacuating the US Embassy in the last days of the conflict for America. Alright, I'm Johnny. Thanks for watching this quick overview on the Huey. As always, I'm just an amateur movie fan, so please share any personal experience or additional information you might have in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time.